Hello, welcome back to Laser Cut and Fly RC Models. I'm the Laser Model Guy. What I want to do in this video is carry on with the production of the components for the Discus Launched Glider, or the DLG. Now if you saw the first video, then you'll have seen that we produced the ribs and the wing tips and all the components we'd need to construct the wings. What I want to do in this video is I want to produce the components to produce the fuselage. Now, bear in mind the fuselage is split in two for a DLG, in that there's a balsa wood cabin at the front which will support the wing, and it will also hold the battery, the receiver and the servos. But then we have a carbon fibre tube which goes to the tail plane, which has got the vertical and the horizontal stabilizer. So what I want to do in this video is produce the components to do the build, and I'll show you exactly how we go about that. So let's get on with that then. Okay, so this is what we've got left on the plan. Now, as you remember, we've already done the wing ribs and wing tips. I'll just show you those. So if I open our 1/8 balsa, that's what we've got there. We've got all the wing ribs, the wing tips, and remember we were going to laminate the wing tips so that we've got a slot in the middle for the carbon fibre tube that goes straight through the centre. And the bottom part of the wing tips I've got on 1/16 sheet. So I'll just open 1/16, and there we are. There you can see that. So if we go back to our full plan, all we want to do now is the main parts of the fuselage and the tail plane. If we go to outer zone, you'll see that somebody has amended these slightly and put some holes in them in order to make them a bit lighter, to make them lightweight. So what we'll do is we'll copy the main shapes from our plan, and we will then put holes in them to lighten them anyway. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got some formers, which you can see there on the plan, just there and then just there. This is the plan view, obviously the top view. This is the side view. And now these sides are 1/16 balsa, and I'm going to make them as one piece. So with our formers, these are going to be plywood, 2mm ply, and then they're going to have this 16th balsa sides put onto those. So all I'm going to do with that is just group that, and I'm going to bring that over, and I'm going to label that up as F1. You see, fortunately these are, as I pointed out in part 1 of the DLG, these are all vector files, so we can actually grab the whole piece and use it straight away on our laser without having to do a great deal to them. So I'll grab this one, I'll bring that over, but I will group that as well, and I'm going to label these. So if I select our text there and then shrink that down to say 4mm, and then what we'll do is we will actually, this is even smaller still maybe, so if we shrink that down to 3mm, and then we'll put former 1, F1, and then what I'll do is when I come off that, I will change that to layer 1, which will be our engraving layer, and then group the whole thing, and that's former 1 made. So then what I'll do here, let me just need to ungroup that because we want to get rid of this, whatever it is. a little mark from the plan. So we delete that, and then I'm going to put more text on, and I'm going to call this one F2. And then we can group the whole thing, and that's our former F2 made. So let's bring that over. If I start to arrange these ready for cutting, then it'll make it easier, quick and easier when I come to shift them onto a sheet of their own. So the next bit here, this one's got a V in it. You can see former 3 because it's going to sit. The wing will be sitting in that former. So if I bring that across, and I'm going to label that up. F3. And then group the whole thing. And you can see how that one has now got a circular hole in it, which will be for this carbon fibre tube, which will go to the tailplane. So it's a very, very lightweight glider, and you can see that that former will sit there, and the tube fastens into that there. Okay. Okay, so we've got a little tab here which is going to sit on top of our fuselage, and we're going to be able to screw the wing into the fuselage so that the wing is firmly in place. Obviously with a Discus Launched Glider the wing has to be solid, so this little tab here sits right here on top of the wing, and it has a screw going through into a block that gets inserted into the fuselage, and I'll show you how we do that later. So I'll just take that component and I'm going to mark that up as, I think we'll just call that T for tab. And then we'll group. And that one can sit there. Okay, this component here is a component that will be used just to set the wing dihedral. If we go back to the original plan, which has still got the labels on it, you'll see that that's that component there, and it just says dihedral. So that's a pattern really for setting these two ribs in the wing. We'll set them at this angle, and that will give the wing the correct dihedral. So if we go back to Lightburn, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to bring it straight over, and I'm going to label it up, and I'm going to call it dihedral. Dihedral pattern, maybe pattern. And then we'll just group. We could probably make that out of 1/8 balsa, to be fair, rather than out of ply. Not for any cost saving, but it takes longer to cut ply because it does 2 passes. Okay, So we've got some shapes here which are going to form the hatch. I think the best way for us to make our hatch cover is for us to go round the shape of the hatch, because these are just parts that are stuck in to allow it to locate or to key into the end of the glider. So what I'm going to do in order to make this hatch, I'm going to produce a line and then just go all the way around the outside, just like that. And then if I go to nodes, all I will do is make these center ones into smooth curve nodes by hover over the node and press S, and there you go, that's made that into a nice smooth curve. Okay, so with that component made, we can now bring that over. I'll convert that to the cutting layer, and then I'm going to call that hatch. And then when I come off there, I'll convert that to our engraving layer, which is layer 1, and then I'll group. Now I'm going to leave that component up here because I won't be making that out of ply. That will be 16th balsa, so very, very thin balsa, and that sits there in the glider on top, and that's where we'll be putting the battery. So when we want to change the battery, we just take that hatch off and we can get access to the battery. Now if you just look, these strips here, they'll be stuck to the sides of the glider on the inside, so the hatch will sit in and rest against those. Now this piece here will be on the bottom underside of the hatch, so that'll go in underneath, and then the hatch will press down, and then what we need to do is fasten the hatch at this end, and we'll probably just use a piece of tape to stick that down, and then just pull that off each time we want to recharge the battery. Okay, next thing that we want to do is we want to make these sides out of 16th balsa, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the line again, the line tool, and I'm going to go from this corner and I'm just going to follow that round in this way. There, perfect. And now if I go to nodes, what I'll do is hover over this one and make it into a smooth curve node, so that gives us that gentle curve on the top. And then I'm going to do the same with each of these. There we go. Okay, so we come off nodes and we've now got our two sides of the aircraft. I'll just turn that to our cutting layer and then I will label it up as side. Although I don't really think I need to do that. I think it's going to be pretty obvious what it is, but nevertheless, there we go. Then what I'm going to do is group. I'm going to insert a couple of tabs. Just one there and one there. Do that for this as well, I think. That's better. Just Control Z if you make a little error like that. So I'll come off tabs. Okay, now what I want to do with this one is Control C and then Control V to produce a copy. Now they're two 1/16 sheets. They're the two sides. Now for the top and the bottom, what I've got is our top here, the wing is going to sit right there. We've got our hatch which is going to sit in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bottom piece which will be got to make sure that if we're using the outside line all the way around that we stick to the outside line, and I've moved in a little bit there, but we'll be able to correct that in just a second. Okay, so first things I want to do here is if we go to nodes, I can see that that is not in the right place there. There we go. Now it is. I've snapped that into place. So what I want to do now is go to each of these and hover over, press S for smooth curve, just to convert those. Right, now this is the one where I misplaced. This needs to be on that bottom line there. You can see it just snaps into place. Okay, so that's the bottom sheet made up. So I'll just convert that to our proper layer, and then we can just call that the bottom. So I'll just call that B, and then when I come off there I will convert that to okay. I'll put a couple of tabs in, one top and bottom, and that's the bottom sorted out. So you can see how the hatch will be sat there. Okay, that will be the hatch. So what I need to do now is produce the piece of material for the front and the piece of material for the for the front going up to the nose, and the piece of material that sits right behind the hatch. So I'll just make those up now in exactly the same way using lines. Okay, and then let's just do exactly the same here. Okay, let me just go to nodes and see if I need to make some adjustments on that one. Yeah, I think we're a little bit further out here than I want it to be, so if I press Control and Shift, I can move that 1/10 of a millimetre at a time. Okay, also what I want to do here right in the centre is insert, hover over, press I, and then bring that down and then convert that to a smooth curve node, just to make sure that we actually fit the side, because you can see here we don't quite. So hover over, press I, insert a node, move that to the line, and then convert that by staying over it and pressing S. It becomes a smooth curve node, and you can see now we've come close. I can actually do the same with this, to be fair. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is exactly the same, insert, and then move that node, snap it to the line, and then staying over it I'm going to convert it to a smooth curve node, and now I'm going to do exactly the same up here. Hover over the line, press I, click on that, stay over it, press S, move it out. And now we've got those nice curves. Okay, so I'll bring those two over, and then we'll put our tabs in. And all those tabs do is they'll provide a little break in the cut of 0.5 millimetre, and if you go to preview, you can have a look. When you get close in, you can see that's where the tab is, just there. And then if you look on the bottom, you'll see there's the other tab there, where there'll be a 0.5 millimetre break in the cut. Okay, so they're all going to be 16th balsa, so they'll go onto the 16th balsa sheet. And finally, use the line function again, and I'll go straight to the top. So there, and then 4, 5, 6, 7 to the center there, and then try to match those on the other side as well. And then when we go to our nodes and we make them all into smooth curve nodes, we should follow that curve very nicely, I think. Okay, I think that will be just about right. Let's bring those over. So what I want to do now is I want to make this a little bit lighter. So how I'm going to do that is by clicking on this shape tool, and this has been changed a little now, because what we'd get if we just click on that little triangle there, that little green triangle, we can now make an ellipse. So what I want to do is I want to do that. There's the centre of our wing around there. So what we want to do is make sure that we've got a little bit of space, and all we're going to do is put these elliptical cuts in to just reduce the weight slightly. And so we'll make a further one just here. And all I'm doing is just making them look about right, you know, look sensible. Okay, I want to replicate that now down here. So the way I'm going to do that is make a copy of those. So Control C and then Control V, put those there. Then I'm going to take this whole wing, Control Copy, Control V, and then I'm going to flip it by pressing this here. I'm going to move that until it overlaps our current wing. So if I shift the original, and then what I want to do is group, and I know that that's perfectly symmetrical. Now that's going to be 1/8 balsa, so I'm just going to leave that in the middle there, and I'm going to move that to the 1/8 balsa sheet in just a minute. So all I'm going to do now is do exactly that same process with the elevator flap, and then the same process with this vertical stabilizer here and with the rudder. So I don't think we need to go through that process again, because you've seen how that's done. So what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to send this to the laser, but I'm also going to be doing a video on laser basics, which will be setting up the laser, showing you how the cuts are done, or the cut test is done, so you know exactly what the settings are for your laser for any particular piece of wood. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.